This episode is sponsored by Indie Rebel, a masterclass in independent filmmaking. When I was starting out in filmmaking, two books inspired me to no end: Rebel Without a Crew and the DV Rebel's Guide. I wanted to write a book that would inspire the next generation of indie filmmakers, the kind of book that I would want to read again and again to guide me through things. Culled from over a decade of experience, Indie Rebel walks you through the process of making your first movie step by step. You'll learn how to develop a story, write a script that you can shoot, how to pick out and use a camera, tricks for lighting and camera movement, different methods for getting good sound, short film ideas for learning how to make movies, how to run a set and direct actors, and of course post-production and distribution on the internet. If you've dreamt of making your own movie, Indie Rebel, a masterclass in independent filmmaking, is a must-read. Get your copy today, link in the description. Alright, this time we're going to take a look at the removal process for getting rid of things that we don't want in the shots and that kind of deal. So let me go and blow this up here so we can take a look. And this is just a rather unremarkable shot off my balcony. And let's say, for sake of argument, that we wanted to get rid of this bucket right here. Some idiot left a bucket in my shot. Oh, how dare they? And they're like, it's okay, you can fix it in post, right? Well, hopefully that's what we're going to try to do. Now, there's a few ways we could go about doing it. You have a method of creating a clean plate or patch and planar tracking or 2D tracking that into place. We could actually do a 3D camera track on the whole thing, reconstruct geometry for the wall and the ground, and project a clean plate onto it. That's usually the best way to do it, but in Fusion it is a little tricky and cumbersome. I don't like it. I don't think it's elegant as far as the process to do it. Very easy to do in Nuke, but Fusion's a little bit more difficult. I do have a video on my channel showing you how to do that already. It's called Projections and Rig Removals inside of Fusion, so go check that out. In fact, I'll link to it in the description below. But let's go ahead and try a couple different methods and options that maybe you're not as familiar with. So I will show you how to literally just cover it up. That's probably my favorite method sometimes, is to just add an asset to the shot and cover up something that you don't want to be there. So let's see what we can do with that. We're going to pop into Fusion. Okay. And I'm going to need a new asset to do this. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up Bridge. And we're going to go, I think it's in stock footage. Let's see. Yeah, backgrounds. And I have a whole collection of like trees and treescapes and cool stuff like that I think maybe I can find one or two that I can use. Nope, wrong one. That doesn't work. Let's try stock images, backdrops. There we go. So what I think I want to do is I'm just going to plant a tree either right in front of it or coming out of it. So let's see what kind of options we have here. This one's kind of cool. I like the shape of that, like a little bush. Or we could do an actual tree to it as well. Because sometimes you don't have to remove something completely. You just have to make it look like that it belongs there. And I think this tall, skinny tree, that's a nice little shrub. Let's use that one. So we're going to drop that in. And we can bring that into the shot here. Now, because it moves, guess what? We're going to have to track this thing. And because it is on a planar surface that goes out of frame, I don't think a 2D track is going to be the best bet, because you can see that we lose it here at the edge, right? It comes off. But the window is there the whole time, and so is the wall. So this is a great time to attempt a planar track on the surface. Let's go ahead and flip this back here. Somehow my compositions got reset, my layout. And we're going to come in and add a planar tracker. Okay, we've already done this once before, so I'm not going to hold your hand on this one as much. And let's go ahead and choose what we want to track. That surface right there. And this time, I don't think I need to track the perspective. I'm just going to go translation, rotation, scale, and I think that'll work out okay. And then let's go ahead and we'll track to the end. Oops. Let's set a reference frame here. That worked out great like that. And just like before, now we create a planar transform. Okay. So we're going to run our leaf tree into the planar transform, and then we want to merge this on top of the shot. So let's go ahead and add a merge node here. And this is our background. And then this is our foreground. Let's go and view it and see what we have. Back to here, frame 0. All right, and it's actually looking semi-decent. Let's just go ahead and scale this down here. Add a transform node there. Shrink it down nice and small. And this time, yeah, something like that. Now it's moving again on us, right? Curse it. Darn, that's right, because we have to move it on top of a backdrop or a background. So we add our background, and we'll make a transparent alpha. Throw the tree on top of that. Run that into the first transform here. There we go. Now, if we look, that tree is stuck on there. It's not going anywhere. And I can come over with this transform, cover it up like that. And then let's go ahead and scale this down some more. Make it a little tree sitting out in front here in the shade. Cover the bucket like that. There we go. Perfect. And let's make sure that stays in. Okay, that's tracked in quite nice. And you can see the beauty now of this planar track is that it allows me to track a different part of a same surface, and it goes right out of frame. Like, it almost looks like it was a 3D track the way that tree just sticks in there. So that's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and color correct this tree down a little bit. We'll turn down the saturation a bit. I'm just trying to match these other greens I have out here. And maybe turn on the brightness. Forgot to enable this. There we go. Increase the lift. Slightly like that. Gamma it down. I'm trying to watch my black levels here too as I do this. And we're just balancing all these together like that. And that's not bad. That actually looks pretty good. Let's go ahead. Let's see, there's my media out. Let's run this into the media out. And let's go and preview this in the edit page. All right, make it full screen. And that looks pretty good. You can see now there's no more ugly bucket. Nobody's eye would even be drawn to the tree over here. I mean, it's really that simple to do. So where did I get this asset? This one came from the Blender Guru, and he had a nature pack that he released a couple years ago, and it included tree assets like this. Now you can also find stuff like this on actionvfx.com. That's probably like the #1 place I would go to find VFX assets today. You might even be able to find like tree on alpha channel with a Google image search and pull up something that'll work for you that way too. And you can see just how stupid easy that got dropped in. Now let's say too, speaking of rig removals and things, I'll show you another way we can do this using the paint tools. Let's say I didn't want this window right here. For whatever reason, that's an ugly window to me and I don't want it in the shot. How do we get rid of that? Well, let's bounce back into Fusion and I will show you. So this time we're going to do another planar track, and this looks like a good frame. What I'm looking for is a nice clear frame without a lot of blur on it. So that looks pretty good. Frame, where are we? 86. So we're going to add another planar tracker. I'm going to run my shot into it. Let's go and view it. And I'm going to go ahead and planar track the surface over here. Okay, give myself a lot of detail to work with. Once again, I think translation, rotation, scale is going to be just fine for this. There's really no 3D parallax or anything like that happening. Actually, I might go ahead and throw in fine just to get a little bit of skew potentially. Here, let's go ahead and we'll track forward. Oop, Got to set the reference frame, frame 86, and away it goes. Now we can go back to the reference frame and track backwards. Okay, we can see that's all in there. Create a planar transform. There we go. So what I want to do is I'm going to paint a clean plate and then use this tracker to fix it. All right, now we're going to go ahead and add a new node called a paint node. And we're going to hook it up to our main footage. Let's go ahead and view it. And this is cool. This lets us do a lot of different things. But if I select clone and I've got multi-stroke selected, I can now use this just like in Photoshop by alt-clicking on one part of the image, so maybe here, and then I can now click and drag over here and just paint that out. And I'm trying to match the flow of the wall and stuff as much as possible. Now, it's such a far shot away, I don't have to be super precious about it, but that works pretty good like that. Now, the problem with painting is that it's only lasting for one frame usually. Yep, there it is, and then it's gone. And then the other problem is now how are we going to track that into the shot? So first let's go ahead and freeze this, and we're going to use a time stretcher to do that. So we add a time stretch after the paint node. Let's go ahead and view it. And then I'm going to right click on source time and hit remove key, and then dial in frame 86 like that. And so now if I play the shot, we can see that it is completely frozen, and that's good. That's what we want. So now it's just a simple matter of masking out that area. Okay, and we can do that with one of our polyline masks. Pull that out of there for a sec. There we go. And let's go ahead and come back and view the original shot here on frame 86. Figure out where that is. And whenever you're doing roto work like this, try to follow the natural seams of the shot. So I might go from here to here to here, up and over. And that's just going to help things blend in a heck of a lot better. And now I'm going to show you something cool you can do. I'm going to run my polyline mask into the planar transform. I'm going to copy and paste the planar transform and run my time stretcher into that as well. Okay. Now I can merge that on top of my shot and use the mask input from the the planar transform of the polyline mask. So what we've done, let's go ahead and view this, is it now rotos that out for me automatically. That's what's super cool. So I'm tracking my roto using one planar transform, and I'm using the same planar transform to move my patch around. So you can see that all gets moved like that, but it's a still frame. There's no animation to that. So by masking it out on top down here, using another merge, putting it on top of the shot, let's see if I can show you. There we are. Using this little white square, it's now animated along, following the same path as that same window, and then using that as a mask to punch out the shot. And that's how we end up with the final shot that looks like this. There we are. And we can see that looks good. I still have wind in this tree here, the animation of the leaves moving. We have painted out the one window that we didn't like because it was so ugly. And we've still got the bucket covered up over here with the other fake tree plant as well. So those are just a couple real easy ways to handle removing objects here inside of Fusion. Unfortunately, these methods only work when there's something directly behind the object that you're trying to remove. In this case, I had the wall right here that I could track to paint out that. I had this wall and window here that I was able to track to paint this thing out right here. It would be a lot harder, let's say, to paint out this sign. And that's because there's depth behind it as it goes back behind. I don't have another flat surface directly behind the sign. Rocks would be easy to paint, but that sign would be very difficult. That's where I would have to use the 3D projection method, which I have another video on my channel talking about how to do that. So Hope this one gets you going. If you're looking for an effect to try for your effects short film, like we talk about in the book, this would definitely be the one that would be probably the easiest to do, and doesn't require any special setup or anything like that. Just leave something in the shot and practice trying to paint out, or just film something like I did. I just stood on my balcony and I filmed the shot, just shot it, and then went back afterwards and said, oh yeah, I could try to paint that out, or I could try to paint out the windows over here and stuff. And two very different techniques that yield pretty good results.